Well, there's been that big reshuffle, of course. It's changed the ministry. Also, some new positions announced outside of it as well. Joining me live is the Chair of Parliamentary Committee of Intelligence and Security, Peter Khalil, who has added to his role, I suppose, in Parliament. He's now going to be the Envoy for Social Cohesion. Thank you for your time. Why is this role needed now?
Yeah, g'day, Tom. Look, it's an important policy area. What we mean by social cohesion really is the different parts of our society, Australian communities and society, forming a united whole. How do we have that cohesiveness in our society? Disagree respectfully and peacefully. What structures need to be in place so that people can build up their confidence around our democratic institutions and our different institutions like the media as well. And a lot of this is being challenged. But I will say it's not just about multiculturalism. It's much broader than that because there's intergenerational difference, there's political perspectives that are different, there's socioeconomic difference. And really this is looking across the different parts of government about how to put policies in place to actually add to that cohesiveness. And I think, thinking about this a fair bit, obviously, that the thread of Australianness that runs through our society, we're all Australian. What does it mean to be an Australian? Our citizenship, the obligations, the responsibilities, the privileges is what kind of connects us all. And I think that's a very important part of cohesiveness. And a lot of that has been under some challenge. And this is important policy work to ensure that people can maximise their potential and then have a better life in Australia, really.
One of the biggest parts of sort of lack of social cohesion when we look at the US is how divided their politics are. We don't seem to have that. A lot of people are swinging voters in Australia. How do you address that? I mean, you're part of one of the parties in one sense, so you're almost conflicted. How do we avoid that happening in Australia, in your view?
I think all of us as democratically elected representatives have a obligation, a responsibility to protect and enhance the democratic institutions that have served us so well in Australia. Because we're part of that system, we have that responsibility to improve and enhance and build up the confidence and trust in these institutions. Institutions are made up of people, Tom, right? The media or Parliament or the court system or sporting clubs. I mean, these are all institutions in our system that are made up of people. It's how people behave and how people relate to each other, how they find common ground, how they find common goals. There's a big difference, as you know, between a team and a group, right? A team has a collective kind of objective that they work together on to get to that outcome. And that's not to say that people in Australian society are always going to have to agree on everything. There will be disagreement, but it's important to be able to have the processes to allow disagreement to occur in a peaceful way without the polarisation that you were referring to in other jurisdictions.
You've mentioned before the importance of the media and sticking to the facts. Should both major parties then pledge to not go down the path of AI ads on the other side, that is creating, it might be an image or them saying something they simply haven't said? Is that something you'd like to see as a pledge from both major parties and the leaders as well?
It's a really, really good question because AI is going to be a huge kind of challenge that to our social cohesion, and it goes to that point about truth in advertising, obviously, but also in political advertising. I know this has been floated. I would want to consider this because I think how we regulate the use of AI is still something that we're forming and doing the work around because we're a bit behind the eight ball. The technology is going so far ahead of the regulatory frameworks or the legislative frameworks, but what you raise is a very important part of it. And I think for people to have trust in the political system, we need to make sure that there are regulations around there that ensure that what they're seeing and hearing.
You can have regulations. You can also pledge to do it. I mean, on the surface of it, doesn't that sound like a good idea, not to create something that's not true?
On the surface, absolutely it does, to have that kind of commitment, the voluntary commitment. It doesn't necessarily, as you say, have to be a legislative or a regulatory order. It requires parties to be really clear-cut about not using fake imagery or fake material or AI-generated material that's not genuine.
Okay. This role is not a ministry. I'm sure you'll be a minister one day. You're rising through the ranks. But just to clarify what it means, because there were envoys in the past, do you get extra pay? Do you get extra staff? Do you get extra expenses?
I am still awaiting the official letter and so on. I'm still currently the chair of the Intelligence Committee of Parliament. And in fact, I've got some hearings this afternoon where we're looking at the prescription and the listing of Ansar Allah, or the Houthi movement, as a terrorist organisation. So I'm yet to find out about all the details, Tom, to be honest with you. I'm sort of waiting to hear about all of that.
Okay. That seems intriguing. Is it up in the air? Have you sort of asked, or you'll just be told, here's the role?
I think that, again, I've had the incoming brief with the department. I'm going to have another meeting with the Home Affairs Department, and another meeting with the Prime Minister and Cabinet, and of course all those administrative details will be forthcoming, I assume.
You won't have any issue with that being public? It's not something that's sort of kept in secret, presumably?
No, I don't think it's anything that's secret. I'm pretty sure in the past when there's been envoys, that's been a matter of public record.
Okay, fair enough. Just finally on the other issue that's happened here, the shift within putting your sort of security hat on, Labor, it's gradually shifted responsibility away from Home Affairs. AFP, AUSTRAC, ACIC and ASIO no longer there. Is this essentially Labor slowly but surely changing Home Affairs? This is unrecognisable from what it was under the coalition, isn't it? Why?
Well, I'll make a couple of points about that. And I've been very public in my criticism of the coalition record with both Home Affairs and Immigration, the over-politicisation of those portfolios, but also the over-securitisation, particularly of the immigration portfolio. Immigration, and I'm pleased to see it part of Cabinet now, or in Cabinet under Minister Burke, but also in the sense that there has got to be a focus on immigration and the elements of the public policy that are economic and social and cultural, just as important as the security side of things. I think the previous government was overly focused on the securitised part of those portfolios. So I think that's been a necessary shift to get the balance right. And secondly, both Home Affairs and Immigration have been portfolios that have required a lot of repair. The migration system needs to be revamped. There needs to be all this work done on cybersecurity to catch up with the challenges we're facing, which has been done over the last couple of years.
Peter Cleal, appreciate